I'm Beatrice McKenzie, Chair of the History Department here at Beloit College. And this panel is one of the final events of the 2017 Weissberg Week with esteemed Chair Eskinder Nagash. The panel aims to bring a new dimension, the local, to the theoretical and practical information about refugees and immigrants that we've been studying at the national and international level so far this week. Please don't forget about the final panel, which is tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in this room. Legal experts will present on detention, unaccompanied minors, Iraqi refugees, and U.S. asylum adjudication, with Mr. Eskinder Nagash as discussant. To start off this afternoon, I'll ask each of our panelists to introduce yourselves for 2 or 3 minutes or so, including your workplace and your role. And after that, I'll ask several questions to get our discussion started, and then turn the questions over to the audience. So let's begin with Nedi.
Well, good afternoon, buenas tardes. I am Nedi Astudillo. I am the Presbyterian pastor of Parroquia San Jose, which means St. Joseph Parish. It's an ecumenical Latino ministry here in the city of Beloit that started probably around 14 or 15 years ago. I've been in pastor for this ministry for the last 12 years. It's a Lutheran and Presbyterian Latino ministry that I was called to be part of. And we, as a Latino ministry, we mostly serve the Mexican community. Just happens to be the community that are mostly members of the congregation of this ministry. I am a Venezuelan born, so it is a cross-cultural experience for me also to be part of this ministry. Welcome. Again, like I said, so most of the members of this ministry that I'm a part of are from Mexico. They're Mexican immigrants. They mostly come from rural areas in Mexico. And as I said, our ministry is ecumenical, Lutheran, and Presbyterian. And most of our members come from the Roman Catholic Church. And so we are kind of really a mix of experiences, spiritual experience and cultural experiences, and we come together in this ministry called Parroquia San Jose. And part of my ministry is also to provide support to the Latino immigrant community in general in the city of Beloit and Rock County. So I do a lot of advocacy work, accompaniment, and I will be speaking a lot more about that in the next few minutes.
And thank you for your invitation. My name is Crisita Barrios. I am Director of Immigrant Outreach Program at the YWCA. I've been with the YWCA for approximately 10 years. And the community of people that we serve, obviously, in my program is immigrants, refugees, very limited refugees, but a lot of immigrants from Mexico, Venezuela, Peru, Colombia, smaller portions, Asia, Macedonia. Those are very small portions, but my majority of clientele or individuals that I serve are from Mexico as well. I'd say about 75%. Non-English speakers, second and third generation in the United States, have been living here for more than 10 years. Have gotten accustomed to some of our cultural differences and sameness. I always say that. So that's been my experience. The YWCA has 5 different programs under its umbrella. We have our child care program. We have our care house, which is a forensic team-oriented investigative group of people that do intakes for children that have been abused or sexually assaulted. We have our Women's Transitional Program. We have our Alternatives to Violence Program and our Racial Justice component of the Immigrant Outreach Program. And I also work with immigrants in assisting individuals that are legal permanent residents with their residency and citizenship. So also we'll be speaking more towards that in a little bit.
Thank you. Janet?
Good afternoon, all. And first, I want to say I hate of Janet being late, but your campus is so confusing, and it's my first visit to it. So, my name is Janet Bileshkovich, and I'm with Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Rockford. I am a program director for Refugee Resettlement Program, and as well, I am BIA accredited we have immigration program as well. So I have BIA accreditation where we practice family law. So help with citizenship, actually all kind of petitions, employment authorization, renewals, and all that nice things which are mainly tied to the family law. Our program serves, and I will go with the fiscal year with the refugee resettlement. We have approximately 375 for fiscal year, which goes October 1st till September 30th. So if you go by the calendar year, we have much more. Depends because the numbers are really not spread equally during the 12-month period. So we can end up actually serving, let's say, maybe 500 per year or even more, but I'm talking about individuals, not about the families. We have never had a diversity as we actually had it during the last year. So we have seen many, many Congolese, Burundis, Rwandans, Ethiopians, Eritreans, Syrians, Iraqis, Iranian, couple cases from Ukraine, few cases from Afghanistan, Sudan. So it is really diversity. And in our office, we look like a little United Nations office. We have 12 case managers, mainly only 2 are actually from United States. 10 of them are the former refugees, as myself as well. I came back in 1994 as a result of the war in former Yugoslavia. And I was served by the same organization. After I came, I tried to learn English, and I have volunteered and then to help. However, since January 1998, I am an employee of the refugee resettlement, and this is my 5th year as a program director after our old director have retired. So that's a short version of us. I'm sure the questions will go further and get more information.
Thank you. And Danielle?
Good afternoon. My name is Danielle Clifton. I'm an ESL teacher in the Lincoln Middle School, which is down in Rockford, about 20 miles south of here. And I get the kids that Janet processes the family, and I get the kids. And about 6 years ago, our district decided that it was probably in the kids' best interest to separate our ESL program. And so the Latino speakers were sent to, they have one branch, they go to one middle school and another high school. And then all the other languages were sent to Lincoln Middle School, and then they go on to East High School. And I've been there 4 years. This is my 4th year here, and every year I always survey the kids, and so I do have some data available, which is rather interesting. So we have 136 students, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, from 28 different countries, and at home they speak about 20 different languages. So a lot of people have no idea that that's going on so close by, and that we have such a rich, just a wealth of experiences and people and cultures so close by. And I was crunching some numbers last night. Our refugee to immigrant split is about 60% refugees to 40% immigrants. And out of that 60%, about 62 of our refugee kids were actually born and raised, spent their whole lives in refugee camps, which can have some advantages. It depends how good the refugee camp, and then it also, we get some kids with PTSD and other things that happen from them being in the camps. They are initially tested when they come to our school district, and then they decide. We have basically 2 programs. We have a newcomer, so if they are just really, they have almost no English skills, and they're basically just getting off the airplane, processed by Janet's group. We get them, we put them in a newcomers group, and so they get to stay there for about a year. And then after the year, or if they tested better, so they had some English skills, we have sheltered classes, and we teach them math and science and social studies and English, ESL, and reading. And and our goal in this program is not to keep them there forever. The part of our department is called TPI, and the T stands for transitional. And our goal is to get them learning enough English so that they can go into the regular ed program. That's our goal.
Thanks, Danielle. So the first question that I have for you, for the panelists, is what are the contributions that immigrants and refugees make to our communities? And I'm going to start again with Nettie and go down, but I'll change up the order in future questions. What contributions do immigrants and refugees make to the state line area?
Okay, so I just wanted to add, my first education was sociology in Venezuela before I went to seminary to become a pastor. So this has helped me a lot as I work with the immigrant community in Beloit to try to develop a ministry that really sees the whole human being. And we try to tackle all different aspects of people's lives and recognize all the many gifts that we bring, and as well as all the challenges we have to have an abundant life as we believe as people of faith God wants for us and for the whole creation. When I look at what contributions refugees and immigrants provide in our community, I obviously see that there are many contributions, and more than that, I also come from a concern to realize that in spite of this amazing contribution that immigrants are providing us with this beauty of diversity and providing me a job as a pastor, that we're not really giving back as much as we are receiving. And so that's just a concern from where I see the larger picture. Just to give you some numbers in terms of the immigrant community among us, and I'm talking here now statewide, but it is representative of our area. 40% of the workforce in the dairy industry in the state of Wisconsin are immigrants, 40%. 90% of those who pick up vegetables and fruits are immigrants. 27% of those who work in the manufacturing industry and labor force are immigrants. 15% work in hospitals and the educational systems. Just with that alone, I see something that really stands out is the fact that without the work of immigrants, we would not be the dairy land that we feel so proud of being. And I always repeat that, because without their support, we wouldn't have cheese on our table or fruits and vegetables the way that we do. Immigrants provide jobs to more than 26,000 U.S. citizens. They pay more than $21 million in state income taxes every year, but we deny them the right to ever cash their Social Security because most of the immigrants, at least in our midst, are undocumented. So this is money they're putting in but will never harvest. Immigrants are home buyers, and they pay $6 million in property taxes. They're consumers, and they're providing $66.6 million in sales taxes each year. So they support our economy. We support this economy. And again, one of those other issues that I look at the same time parallel to this reality is the fact that the majority are not able to have the same rights that most of us citizens do, including the right to have a driver's license in the state of Wisconsin, even though there are other 12 states in the country that do provide driver's licenses for people who cannot prove their legal status. immigrants are part of our community. They are our co-workers. They're the friends of our children. They are and will be the parents of our grandchildren. They're members of churches. At least 30% of the immigrants in the city of Beloit are members of churches. And like I said before, they keep me employed. So they are an amazing and beautiful sector of our community that unfortunately is living in the shadows because we're not supporting them fairly enough. But it's one of those beautiful things of God's creation that they are among us and we are among you. And thank you.
Thanks. Cressida?
I can't top that because we work together. So a lot of what she says is true. We cooperate in a lot of our services that we provide to the immigrant community. All those facts are true. What I find interesting is the work ethic amongst the Latinos, Hispanics. The benefits that we U.S. citizens get, they do not. They cannot collect unemployment. They cannot have social medical care. So if a child gets sick, they're always looking for resources, and that's where we come in at the YWCA, is finding them and connecting them to resources available to them. Some of these individuals have to travel miles to get services at one point or another. Also, for them to travel between 20 and 50 miles is nothing to them for a job. And so those, from our perspective, and assisting women that are victims of domestic violence, that's our focus with our programming, finding resources. And of course, when you look at this, what are their contributions? They contribute a lot in the home, in the work. They work for very little wages because they cannot work if, they can work, but they shouldn't be working, obviously, under assumed names. And so they don't want to risk. And so they work for cash, where a lot of times they get exploited. You know, somebody always wants a cheap, good job done for cheap wages, right? So they're contributing that way. So that's our stand. Of course, like I said, I can't top what Nettie said because we work together, and those are the same statistics that I would have been sharing with you.
I would like to start with just, I don't know how many of you are familiar with what is a refugee and what is an immigrant. And refugees are not by the choice. They are forced to flee their country. Later on, if you are interested, I can read you the definition of the refugees. Immigrants are immigrants by choice, but as a person myself, as a person who works with both immigrants and refugees, nobody runs away from good. So whichever way they come here to rebuild their lives or to give the hope or the future to their families or their children. I do want to talk a little bit more about different than that stigma, which very often we see in the news, read in newspapers that refugees and immigrants are here to take the jobs. I want to approach it a different way. Think about how many businesses they open on their own. How many of them become the employers? How many? All of them are consumers. Talking about the refugees, the first thing is when refugee flies or flees their country, what do they want? They want to build a home. They want to have a home. So what is the first thing? They are working about buying the home. So they burst our economy. More than 50% in the past years, and now we have Assyrians buying the homes, opening businesses. We have Congolese buying the homes, opening businesses. So about 50 or over % are the home buyers within less than 5 years from arrival. So what does it mean for our economy? So it's not not, and I'll talk as a refugee because I am a former refugee, and that's what I like to. I'm not here to take. I'm here to have a new life, to build a new life, and I am proud to be in a country where nobody would ask me, who am I, which color I am, which religion I am. So that's what America is. So I will just leave that as, I think that's the biggest contribution we are putting in this melting pot.
Well, I went around today and asked my colleagues, and I'm here, but I'm also representing about 12 people, I'll say, in my department. And I said, what does it mean to you having our kids here? I asked teachers who were not in our program, and those were. And words, probably the most important words, were cultural diversity. Our school is very mixed anyhow to begin with, very much of an inner city school. But we have just that extra flavor. We just add the extra dimension to what the school is. And mostly, the other word that I heard was tolerance, and it is something that we find quite, as the kids get older, we find that they are much more apt to be tolerant of others. I mean, we have Africans with Asians and Middle Easterners, and it just sort of blends really nicely. It's not perfect, and we'll deal with that later on. But one of my colleagues, and she said it so well today, when we were talking about it, she said, our students have more empathy and resilience than most other students. They're really inspirational in their willingness to help each other. It's not just, it's for me and my grades and all this. It's, oh, you need help, let me help you. I may not have that many words, but they still try to help each other. It's a beautiful thing. They have an amazing work ethic, something you don't see all the time. A true desire to learn and an appreciation for what they have been given. They do not take things for granted. And I know many of my colleagues, and I think a lot of us nowadays, complain about entitled children, students, whatever. This is not at all the case for us teaching these refugees and immigrants. And one of the, and I'm just going to talk for, because we've talked about what the community is, and what our kids, I think, have taught. There isn't a single one of my colleagues that hasn't been affected, that we haven't just completely opened our minds to just, it's hard to describe the experience of dealing with kids from 28 different countries. And one of the deepest, most profound things that I heard was from an African father, told me this about 2 years ago. He said, my children have two sets of parents: the parents who gave birth and the people who teach them. And I say that to my other colleagues, and they just kind of go, oh, very jealous. But I think the thing that I have brought back from that I have learned really is that the parents largely, and probably Janet will agree with me, is that the parents have sacrificed themselves. All the parents that are here are like, well, all my dreams, everything that I had ever wished for as a young person, I have erased those. What counts are my children. And I know they're talking to teachers when they're saying this, but to them, getting an education, having their children being educated, because most of them come from places where they had to pay monthly for their children to go to school, having a free education is something that is their number one goal, is to have their children get a good education. And when you go to school every day and you know your kids are looking for that, you know that you have the family support behind that, it's just absolutely amazing. So, very thankful for it.
If I can add just one thing, talking about education. Parents don't come because of themselves. They come because of their children, because they want a future for them. I wish we have a data, but we don't. But their education is such important among the refugee and immigrant population that our Congolese refugees, they did not have a chance to study in the camps, to pursue any dreams of their own or for their children. We have a parties every time when somebody goes to college or graduates to high school, because he's the first one who graduated from the high school from our community. This is the first one who graduated from college. I mean, there are so many students, there are so many doctors, so many engineers now, and it's interesting that most of them are pursuing the medical field and engineering. So it is, I wish we have a statistic, but I know community colleges and universities are really, really crowded, I wouldn't say, but there is a huge percentage of the refugee children who are enrolled and pursuing education. So we are, I think that's a huge contribution for our state, for our state line, and as well for our country.
We've already begun to address this, but could you flesh out for a minute or two who the immigrants and refugees are that you work with and what exactly your organization does, perhaps by telling a story about one service that you provide to one person, so we can really get a sense of what your organization does.
So the service that we provide, like I mentioned before, the YWCA has 5 different programs. Our main focus is working with victims of domestic violence and putting them through that safety journey. And so one of the stories that I can share with you is we don't get a lot of immigrant women in shelter because of the cultural differences and because they don't always feel, you know, not so much welcome, but there's such a difference for them. And so one of the ladies that I was speaking to earlier said to me, I cannot believe that there's so much that the U.S. gives to people and nobody embraces it, that they let those opportunities go by them, where here we're making sacrifices to come here for our kids, for a better life for our kids, and then they get into a situation that's not healthy, and they're trying to get out of that and supersede that, and they see such opportunity, but because of the language barrier, they can't access those opportunities at times. And so the comment that she made is, I cannot believe how they just let those opportunities go by. They don't come by you more than once, and you don't embrace that, such opportunities, and you just let it go to waste. Where the women that I see, again, they work for cash money so they can survive, and they do everything in their power that they possibly can to learn the language. Even when they have to work with, they have a couple of kids, they have to be very good, very well organized to be able to manipulate that and still be able to attend classes. It's not very easy. So just the idea that there's so much that is given and that opportunity is just let go by the wayside. And they wish that they could have those same opportunities, not to take advantage of them in a bad way, but in a good way, where they can do good and can give back to the community. I have people that give back to our community. Once they've succeeded in that area, they give back to the community. They come back and they give and they want to help others. So that's been my experience with the women that I work in domestic violence.
I'll just go, just explain what our program does. So which actually every refugee who is served by our office receives all these services. And then I'll just share that little difference, how much this program can actually make a change in somebody's life. We have, after approximately, ideally, 2 weeks prior to the arrival of the case, we receive arrival notice. And that's when we actually start to find the housing for the refugee. We furnish the apartment with the basic household needs, household items, personal items, as well the 1 week worth food. We pick them up from the, to Rockford. They come through the Rockford Van Gelder bus station, where refugees usually, if the port of entry is O'Hare, but however, even if it's, let's say, New York, however, they fly to Chicago, and they are then placed put at the bus by IOM personnel, Immigration Organization of Migration. Oh, come on, this is my daily work. I know this. Then we do short housing and safety orientation. And maybe this one sounds a little awkward for some, even for myself when I came as a refugee. But we have refugees who come from urban areas and refugees who are born and raised in a camp. Some of them have never seen the running water except the river. Some of them have never seen the toilet, which can flush. So, and besides having the different ways of turning on and off, and you know, what does a smoking alarm, 911, and nearest phone. So that's provided. Now, as example, someone who went to Europe, and I'll tell you from my own story. Actually, when my mom came to visit, it was just, your toilet is not working. Well, how come, Mom? How come the toilet is not working? Well, she said there is a water in. So for you who have visited Europe ever, the water does not stay in a toilet when you flush. So if the water is in the toilet, that means toilet is plugged. It doesn't work. So, you know, those are just little simple, but not like for the ones who have never seen that. Day after, we do the home visit to make sure the night went well, answer some questions if they have, of course, do a little more orientation, and then usually same day we take them to apply for the benefits they are eligible. We conduct the intake, we take them to the health department for a health screening and a physical. They're all required to do that. We help them with assist them with the social security cards, assist with the medical appointments, especially with the USCCB program. Our office is under United States Catholic Conference of Bishops, so we are, our voluntary agency is the agency who receives the largest number of the refugees in the United States. And being that we have most medical cases. So doctor appointments are really a big part of our job. We have enroll them to ESL class. We do have a class in our office. We have to go through the extensive cultural